Hi everybody, how's it going? It's Mark Cheng. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Clockwork Knight, a micro short we just created. In past videos, we've been chronicling the development of Extracted, our animated pilot, and recently have been looking at the Metahumans facial performance capture and lip syncing technology, and got so excited with the results in our tests that we decided to pause development on Extracted and spend a week putting together a micro short that showcases that tech so that we can show it to you guys and talk a little bit about tips and what we've learned about how to get best results with facial performance. So in this next video, it's going to be a conversation between me and my creative partner, Nathan Faudree, a writer, performer, producer, also on Extracted, and we'll be discussing how we assembled this short film, where short films like these kind of fit in our psyche and why we feel like they're good for the soul of the artist, and highlight little details that you may like to improve your lip syncing results. And we'll highlight little bits from the film that we particularly like and enjoyed making. So let's start the video. I kind of came to realize that like the full experience of an artist is not just to create something, but also to then share it with the world and have other people enjoy it. And like, that's the one thing with these long runway projects that, you know, they do take, good quality does take a long time. 6 months, a year, 2 years. I mean, Dune was like 3.5 years before anybody actually saw it and enjoyed it. So it almost just came about like, I need a way personally to, as an artist, to have people experience, like watch our stuff, right?
I was just going to say, so the first one was that idea of just like that purely, everything, all of this stuff is taking too long. All of this is, you know, we're having a rough time of it all right now. You know what? Let's just make something real quick, real cool, challenge, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, like the God War ones were interesting because on my end, I was just creating cool visuals. I'm like, this is an establishing shot of, I don't know, a ship entering the atmosphere, or, you know, a giant robot and some mechanics working on the leg or something like that.
Yeah.
And in a way, I almost had the easier job of just creating cool visuals.
The visuals were just stuff that you were like, this looks cool, let's do this, you know? And then sent it over, and I was just like, okay, what is this? I remember pacing back and forth going like, okay, what is it? It's like, it looks like this area and it looks like this, and what if it was this? And yeah, and then we came up with the idea of God War into a story, and like, I love that kind of thing. I love that. It's like my favorite thing. Just, you know, just reminding me of like, you know, like being a kid, you know. It's just like, oh, I've got my G.I. Joe guys and my Star Wars guys, and this is how they interact, and this is what the story is, and stuff like that. So, like, just being able to just play. The visual style of God War 1 and 2 was really interesting because, you know, when you work on a larger project and one with higher fidelity, you know, a lot of the time and energy is spent on making the animation look realistic. But we kind of came up with this style almost just out of necessity of like, let's not bother with like the animation. It would be more like camera movement, but everybody will be frozen. It almost felt like those World War II documentaries where they didn't have a lot of video footage, so they would kind of like animate the photo, kind of, you know what I mean, by changing the perspective. That's kind of like the style. Yeah.
That brings us to this particular project, the Clockwork Knight. And so for Extracted, we're now at the point where we're starting to look at animation and specifically lip syncing and facial performance and the best way to capture that. So I was at this stage where I'm like, okay, I need to kind of take a break from the individual shots and do a week or two of R&D to try to figure out exactly what our animation and lip syncing pipeline will be. So we did a couple of tests with the metahuman characters and came up with something that I think you and I were both hugely impressed with. You know, we're like patting ourselves on the back, but also just like, yeah, I think that this is really going to work for Extracted, you know, which is a long runway project. And I think that's when that bug kind of hit us to be, you know, came back to us to say, well, let's do something now, like quicker and faster, so we can see it, you know, beginning to end and then launch it, right?
Yeah.
I told you basically, hey, these are a couple of the maps that I have that we haven't used, you know, and here's some characters that I have in the library that we also haven't used, and kind of just threw it to you to say, come up with something.
Yeah. And that was super fun too. I mean, you know, to get like a map of like a futuristic city, and then, you know, like there was one that was like a weird, like it was like almost an Indonesian village that was like water throughout stuff like that. And that one I was like really fascinated by, but I just couldn't come up with an idea. But then the Western one was the one that I immediately grabbed me, and I was like, oh, Western. Now that would be so cool to do with a Western. And looking at all of the characters that you had, and I'm sort of going through it, I'm like, okay, if it's a Western, well, what makes it different? How are we going to do this? And then I saw that giant robot.
I actually was hoping you did not pick the cowboy one.
I knew it as soon as you responded. Yeah, you were like, I don't have any characters for this. And I'm like, pick the one that you want.
Once you sent over your performance, though, I'm like, this is going to be so good, because he just does, you fall into character so well, and it totally just fits the genre and the era, and I think you're right. The simple fact that you threw the mech in there, I think got me super psyched, because I love the genre mashing.
For me, as a writing standpoint, like there's so many times that when I'm writing a script, a screenplay and stuff like that, you always have to have budget in the back of your head of like locations. How are we going to do this? How am I going to create? So like ideas have to be, crafted and changed and thrown out. But then the beauty of with the Unreal animation is that I don't have to do that. It's like, a giant robot in a Western village, that would be so goddamn expensive to make. Yeah. But we did it in like 2 or 3 days, And
the other thing is, again, the beauty of Unreal, and that we're just making it ourselves, is that, like, with the larger projects, the number of people you have to convince of your idea or of your vision is there's so many people that you need to get buy-in. And so, like, I don't know, is it an upward sell to be like a giant robot in a Western, era, and then marketing is like, excuse me, like, is that going to be sci-fi or Western genre? How are we going to categorize it? Where will it be in, like, the Amazon lineup? Like, forget all that. We just want to create it because it's fun, and it's just you and me, and so let's just hop in and do it, right?
So using the Unreal Live Link Face app, I am in New York, Mark is in LA, so it's the 21st century. We communicate back and forth all the time through Zoom, through email, through text, through FaceTime, all of that. But when it came down to a lot of like movement capture and that kind of thing, we've always had to, in the past, get together. The beauty of this is that now I don't have to hop on a plane. I can just open up the app, set it up on a tripod. Camera has to be locked down. Can't be moving the phone around and be doing it in your hand, because otherwise the facial capture thinks that your head is moving around and it's just the phone. And I think the big thing was just making sure that there's enough available light on it. The best light for me was actually to set up do my whole little setup right by my living room window. I needed to like be close enough, because I didn't memorize it. I had my laptop propped up behind it so that I could glance over here and look at it. But yeah, then you do that first calibration and angling to the side so that you can see this skin here, and then angling to the side so you can see this skin here, and then doing this face, which I completely forgot to do the first time. But I think that like the other tip was that it's measuring what my resting face is. And since my resting face tends to, because I hate the world, tends to like be more of a scowl a little bit.
Bitch face? You have resting bitch face?
Yeah, my resting bitch face. I have to like open my eyes up a little bit more, eyebrows a little bit up, because then that gives me range in the performance later, where if I want to scowl, it has some place to go from.
Instead of having the camera like completely eye level, I think you should be a little bit higher than the camera so that it can really just capture that depth dead on your lips.
Yeah, right? and like not like down below kind of thing, but right. Yeah, just slightly lower than you would normally probably do it. Still keep wanting to capture the where you are, your whole head. the big thing was that I noticed a couple times there was a couple of takes that I didn't end up sending you because I get into it and everything like that, and then my face would be off the side of the camera like that. And we did send over one where I turned a little too far away from the camera at one point, and because of that, it couldn't tell what this part of my face was doing. Yeah. So video, my face is going like that in the video, right? And then the footage looked like I was having a seizure or some sort.
When I was thinking about just like, the uncanny valley is what everyone is trying to like leap past. I feel like what sells the performance really well is like the way your speech, like what you're saying, the way your eyes move, and then the way your head corresponds to that eye movement. Those three things I feel when I analyze the performance of like, why does this look so effective?
See, I first came across the giant Clockwork Knight in the mines, hiding out from the sheriff. Again. When the cave-in happened, I nearly pissed myself. But when the Clockwork Knight spoke to me in my brain, I did. Just a little bit, mind you, but still not my proudest moment.
Right. I mean, because there are so many nuances that happen when we make a movement like that, of like either your head moving first or your eyes moving a little bit first, so that they're tracking on something before. So it's like, if we had to do that individually, program that, we're gonna miss some of those nuances of like my eyes are moving a little slower than my head, or they're moving a little faster, because I'm seeking out what I'm looking at,
Yeah.
So like those nuances, being able to actually capture all of that really, because it really does, it doesn't fall into the uncanny valley, which I was, you run the risk of on this kind of stuff. So
Nathan, what I love about this shot, these series of shots, is that we can see the actual camera recording that you did when you're in New York, and then I think it's called clay something, I don't know, because there's no actual texture, but it allows you to focus on how the software has extrapolated your performance using audio, visual, and depth data.
Yeah, it's creepy as hell. It is.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
And then you can see the little like levers moving as you're in the smaller one with all the dots.
Oh yeah, that's really cool.
So some things to kind of flag while we're looking at this is that I have to say I think it did a really, really good job of capturing your lip movements, given that you have so much facial hair. I was a little bit worried that like the system would have difficulty processing your lip movements with the surrounding hair on your face. Yeah. And I wonder whether the depth data can see through that and was still able to kind of achieve a high level of detail. One thing that I think the system, I would love to see a workaround for, and this is more about Metahuman than it is about the lip syncing, is that it was pretty difficult for me to find a solution for this character wearing a hat and not having the character's hair bleed through the mesh of the hat. I ended up having to just pick a hairstyle where he was balding in the top.
Right.
So there were workarounds, but none of them seemed to work. And it wasn't worth the time because we had given ourselves less than a week to put this together. And so, after spending like an afternoon trying to figure out how to mask out hair, I was like, let's just make him bald.
Oh, he's bald now. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
It works for the character, so.
The other thing is, like, the first couple times I watched it, obviously we're looking at the lips because we want to make sure the integrity is there. But I almost feel like as a viewer, as I'm watching it, the eyes were more important. I mean, I was drawn to the eyes as the character speaking more than I was to the lips.
Absolutely.
I had a great time working on it with you. It's super fun that we have this dynamic where we, I think we both understand good quality work and storytelling can take a long time, which is why we're spending our time and working on, extracting a larger project, a pilot episode of a series that we've been developing for a while, but then still be able to sprinkle in these breaks that I think serve multiple purposes, right? There's the creative, artistic part of it that we've got a beginning, middle, and end and story that we can share and have the enjoyment or satisfaction of people, you know, being able to watch it. But then also it's a bit strategic with the process because we know we need to iron out some of these workflows like lip syncing and advanced character animation, and we can kind of do that in a side little test bed, right, before we bring it back.
One of the things that you know we're doing each time we work on a project, on any project, is really sort of ironing out what that workflow is and how we do it. I mean, like even what we're doing, how the way that we're doing things now while working on Extracted is different than the way when we started working. You know, it is always that learning process of it. So like being able to take these things in these little micro episodes and continually adjusting our workflow, figuring out what works, what doesn't, and having these just like the fun challenge of it, of just like, just being able to just really create and not have to worry about like how this fits into a larger thing. What are we going to do with this? What does any of this mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Right. No, it was great. And now I'm just fired up to get back into Extracted. Are you?
Let's do it.
All right. Hey, thanks for chatting with me, and loved working on this, and let's keep chugging along.
Cool. See you on the next one.
All right. Bye, bud.
Bye.